Okay, so metal.
Metal.
This show's about metal.
What is metal? We're going to spread the hidden value in music.
We're going to proselytize. We're going to get the word out there.
We are.
That's important.
Beard's Brewery.
Yeah.
Here's the product placement. Astronomical, fruity, hoppy. It's kind of like moody, sassy, nasty.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of the Great Metal Podcast, where we are spreading the world of metal to the world. Today, we've got a really fun topic for you. We are going to talk about progressive metal powerhouses. We're going to go through some
What's a
progressive metal bands.
powerhouse? Wait, what? That's the powerhouse part.
Well, powerhouse is like, these are like the big names in
Setting the tone.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. The
Powerhouse,
powerhouses
yeah.
in prog metal. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I got some surprises in store for my fellow podcastians.
Quick introduction, probably, too. You
Oh.
are...
I am the metal evangelist for anybody out there that doesn't know me.
I'm going to go with progressive metal Pete.
Progressive Metal Pete,
Very good.
and this is Shred.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So we've all got our beverages, and I think we're ready to talk about some metal.
Let's talk about some metal. Maybe a good spot to start is to respond to some of these top progressive metal band lists that we found. Found a couple of different lists, and we're also going to give our top favorites, or just maybe our one favorite, if we had to choose, like the island listening scenario where you're stuck on an island. What's your top pick for a band to just spin for 666 years?
Yeah. You're going to get more than 4 spins on that run.
But maybe
More
before
than
we
4.
do that, we'll just hit some of these lists a little bit.
Take us away.
So number 10 on the list, according to theopitens.com. You guys heard of that site? I don't even know.
I have
No.
not.
But number 10 is Porcupine Tree.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't classify them as metal, but definitely progressive.
Yeah, Steven Wilson obviously is a big name in the space, though. Everybody kind of collabs with this guy. I know he did some stuff with Guthrie Govan recently, too, who's, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's an insane guitarist. But I'm actually not that familiar with Porcupine Tree. I kind of like what I've heard, but it's sort of like what you said. It's not really that heavy. I don't necessarily say I would call it metal, but it's very sound composition. I'll say that.
Yeah, those guys know their way around their instruments for sure. But I would put them more in like the same category as like Marillion.
Oh yeah, right.
Or
where's Marillion from? I forget.
I think
They're maybe
Marillion's-
British or something.
They might be British.
Yeah.
They're either British or U.S. based. If you just search for them, they mostly come up. Yeah, British rock band.
Yeah,
Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire.
but what's everybody's like? Maybe a yay or nay on Porcupine Tree?
Oh,
Just in terms, do you like it?
I'd give them a yay. I mean, I think they're interesting to listen to. They're fun to listen to. But again, I just wouldn't classify them as metal.
Gotcha.
And they didn't, for myself, I didn't go down the rabbit trail. Like I heard some and I was like, yeah, that's okay. But it didn't like grab me into like, I got to check out the discography.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, Swedish metal band Meshuggah.
Oh, yeah, definitely metal.
These guys, I remember the first time I heard Meshuggah, it was the late 90s, and it's actually the reason I bought the Ibanez Universe guitar that I play, because I found out that these guys played that guitar. I was reading this Guitar World article, and just the sound that they had at that time, nobody had a sound like this. Obviously, Korn came, before them with 7-string guitars, but Meshuggah actually was doing 7 strings in the 80s, so technically I guess Meshuggah was before Korn. with 7 strings. But the originators of djent, of course, you have to mention that. A big thumbs up from me on this.
Yeah, I think I haven't listened to a lot. They get dangerously close to like math metal, like really, really technical metal. And sometimes I feel like what they're doing is really impressive, and it just doesn't sound good. I don't know what song is.
It's funny that you mentioned that because Thomas Hake refers to their music as cold as opposed to warm. He's like, it doesn't really hit you emotionally at all. It's like more of a mental math thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember listening to a song. I think it was, what did they had an album called like something about Sphere?
Chaos Sphere.
Chaos Sphere. Yeah. I remember listening to a song off there, and I was like, this is the most disorganized music I've ever heard. And then as it turns out, they like every instrument was playing in a different time signature.
Yeah.
And so they would meet up on like whatever, measure 13 or something.
Yeah.
Weird.
The theory is that Thomas Hake, the drummer, just plays a 4/4 groove, but then he's accenting every guitar hit with his double kick pedals. And that's where, these polymeters and polyrhythms come in. It's dizzying to listen to. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I've listened to some bands that will do that for a short period of time. Like one will be in 3 and one will be in 4.
Yeah,
and you meet up on 12, and it's like, okay, that was like kind of a mind warp, but it was fun. Like Meshuggah doing that in like a thrash style. Yeah. For entire songs, I was just like, wow, I can't.
Well, that fits with their name. I was just Googling
Yiddish.
a little. It's actually Yiddish for crazy or senseless.
Yep.
Oh, well,
yeah.
There you go.
Didn't know that. Fun fact for you.
Fun fact.
Yeah, they're really interesting dudes. In any case, that's number 9. Now, Queensryche is number 8. This to me, I almost see Queensryche as more like 80s metal, but with a little extra juice, maybe, in terms of song structure. But I never think of them when I think of progressive metal, to be honest. But maybe that's just me.
Maybe they would be early into the genre.
Yeah.
On the front end of it. Maybe that's why
1982
they didn't quite develop it all the way. They had some things similar, like you said. It was like metal with a little extra. But
I do love their music. Operation Mindcrime, that's good stuff. What was that one song? I Don't Believe in Love or something like that. Oh, yeah. that just hit me. I was like, fuck love.
Yeah. Their album just before that, Empire. I think it was called Empire.
Oh, yeah.
That had just some really, really, really cool stuff on it. When I think of them as progressive, so when I first started getting into music, I was probably like 1.5, 2 years old.
Yeah.
And I was into bands like Scorpions and Bon Jovi and, like 80s stuff. And Bon Jovi was like, every song is the traditional song structure, like verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. And then sometimes like chorus, right?
Luke, you wanted more.
Well, so here's what I did want more. When I first got my first guitar, I was like, I'm going to write a song that never repeats a chord. And then I realized that, that's hard to do, right? But anyway,
you had the same idea as Arnold Schoenberg, essentially.
Well, and see, I didn't know anything about progressive music at the time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like I would have invented it had I been born earlier.
There you go.
Oh, no.
You might have.
Anyway, so, like, what I feel like Queensryche does is they are verse, chorus, but then their bridge is a more developed bridge than, say, like what Bon Jovi's doing. So, they're not like strongly progressive in the sense that they have like movements through their music, but they have like these sections in the middle where they'll go off and do something fun and then they come back. But it's not deeply progressive.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting that most people would consider them progressive, but
yeah. Why is Queensryche progressive metal? They sounds neither progressive nor metal, in my opinion. That's like incorrect grammar there. They sound actually the closest to glam metal, as I see. I don't know who's even saying this, but yeah, that's about right. Like that's what I was saying earlier. It's more like an 80s metal, glam metal thing. That's more what I think about when I think of Queensryche. But moving on. Number 7 is Between the Buried and Me.
Oh. Yeah.
This is like really heavy shit, right? Like death metal, progressive stuff.
Yeah, but they're more melodic than death metal.
So like Melio Death, maybe. I'm not too
Melio Death?
melodic death metal.
Yeah, I would put them in like the melodic death category.
I'm not too familiar with this band, but I have heard some stuff, and it's very creative. Like they're doing some interesting shit for sure.
Yeah, I wait. This is like just top 10 greatest progressive metal bands.
This, yeah,
Okay.
right.
Are you counting down
Yeah,
to 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
yep. So we're on number 7. It's actually a longer list. It's like 25, but we ain't got time for that.
No, but
shit.
Nah, man.
No.
We ain't got time for that. So if anybody else has any thoughts on Between the Buried and Me, I really don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it.
No.
But I just thought they were really
that
creative.
drummer's calves
Does he
are.
have big ass calves?
Oh my gosh! I mean, like,
We should have like biggest drummer calf contest.
That's a good idea.
yeah. Well,
Thomas Haig would be up there.
Fear
I'm sure.
Factory. I don't even
Oh.
understand how he does what he does. I always
What
thought
is
it was a
that
drum
guy's-
machine.
Raymond
Yeah.
Herrera was, well, I'm sure they. I'm sure
Maybe
part
there's-
of it was a drum machine.
Maybe there's some studio manipulation, but
Yeah.
I saw him live and at the Orbit Room, the Orbit Club, and you were there.
Tracks,
Tread
bro.
was there.
Tracks.
Tracks?
Yeah, probably playing with tracks.
Oh.
Reduplicate some of that stuff, but
That could be. It's just the fastest, most mechanical double bass you'll ever hear. I watched him doing it, but maybe there was a track going on. Yeah, I don't
I think his name is Raymond Herrera. They've had more than one drummer, but
They
during
burn
that
their
period,
calves out.
Yeah. They only get a drummer
They
for
have
a
to
couple
keep
years because their
changing.
Yeah.
calves
Hey,
give out.
Another interesting topic that I posted earlier on my Instagram today is, quality production versus quality of the riff. What's more important? And Fear Factory had the most insane production at the time. Like when Demanufacture came out in 1995, no one was doing that kind of shit. Like it was just so loud, so large, so wide of a sound.
And like crisp.
Yeah.
Like you could hear every note, you could hear every strum, every kick drum.
Unbelievable production
Crisp
value.
and thick. So as opposed to muddy, a lot of times you end up when you get too much going on.
It's a
Zero
whole
Signal.
science.
Yeah.
That was
Signal,
the first
great
song I ever
Yeah.
heard from them, and
Yep.
blew my mind.
Yeah, where's Fear Factory on this list? Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I also
I'm gonna
wouldn't
need my
necessarily-
reserve beer.
All right, crack it.
Okay, drinking the show beer there.
Beer and metal go together. So next is French metal band Gojira.
Oh yeah.
This band was known as Godzilla until 2001. So there you go.
Well,
I like
Gojira.
Gojira better.
Yeah, well, that's the Japanese way to say it.
What does it mean?
Gojira. It's Godzilla, but
So it's
The name
we've
that's-
Americanized how you would say Godzilla.
Gojira is still cooler, I think. I
Yeah,
like that
totally.
word.
And those guys just came out with an EP, I think, recently.
Was
An
it-
EP or a single.
I think it might have just been a single.
just real
yeah.
releasing. And maybe they were doing a
They did
a live show too.
Yep,
Yeah,
at Red
stream.
Rocks. I think it was at Red Rocks.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
was a
yeah.
super cool venue.
Yeah.
Where the hell's Red Rocks? Like
Did that
Colorado,
happen?
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it's
just
a super
happened.
cool venue. Where is that?
Yeah. They well, you see just, live footage of it, and I don't know, but have you seen it?
No.
They have like these it's outside,
Oh,
and
yeah.
They have those
Is
red
it
rocks
inside
in
the
Colorado.
Grand Canyon?
It's kind of like that, but no.
It'd be like a
it
venue
kinda looks like
if
that.
it was inside the Grand Canyon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like an outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Man, if only there was some kind of like search engine on the internet where I could look it up.
You
Look
know,
it up, bro.
those search engines, sometimes they struggle
They
to get you.
do,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, look that shit up. So I'm not too familiar with Gojira either, but what I have heard from these guys, I really like. It's very syncopated, probably a degree of Meshuggah influence. And really, there's not a whole lot of metal coming out of France. So these guys just kind of win by default as the best French metal band.
No, I'll tell you.
Unless you guys have another one.
Well, yeah, no, I know a couple. One is called And Oceans. They are nearly unlistenable. They're
Well, they don't win then.
no, they don't win. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know some other French metal bands, but yeah, we don't need to talk about And Oceans.
Okay. Unlistenable, not worth talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's too much. They go for too much.
All right, next, Mastodon. Mastodon is an American heavy metal band from Atlanta, Georgia, formed in early 2000. Yeah, this is almost like the last 20 years best prog metal bands list, largely, except for Queensryche and some other ones. Mastodon is really cool. I've never really gone that deep into them, but I really like the aspect that I think they all sing. And it's almost like Beatles, but metal. Some of their song structures are a little bit frustrating to me. I wish, I'm like, oh, you should have done that instead of what you did. But that's just subjective stuff to a large extent. But super creative band. Thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I only know a couple songs. Like I know, like Colony of Birchmen, which I play in Rock Band from time to time. So I don't have a wide exposure.
But do you like mastodons? Is the question.
Well,
I would ride one.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy, prehistoric by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How large is a mastodon?
Well, bigger than an elephant.
Huge.
And elephants are bigger than dogs. So I'm gonna guess large.
Trying to get a quick stat on this thing. I'm not seeing it.
I'm pretty sure our audience needs to know how large
Description.
a mastodon is.
7'7" height at the shoulders. That's it.
No, you gotta be bigger than
I
that.
said between 8 to
large,
10 feet.
Yeah, large males get larger. Let's see. How much do they weigh though? 8.6 tons. Whoa!
Wow.
So that's like 17,000 pounds or something.
Well, multiply it by 2.
Definitely enough to squish you. Don't want to get stepped on by one.
I think if Mastodon had an actual Mastodon like behind them during a live show, that would take things to the next level.
That would.
That's what I would
do.
do.
They
Like,
not have a mascot?
Pull some Jurassic Park shit where you like extract a Mastodon DNA from the mosquito, you know?
Yeah. Well, they have like a mammoth DNA. Maybe they have some mastodon DNA.
Bingo. Mastodon DNA.
Great reference. Everybody should go watch Jurassic Park. It's out on Netflix.
I'm
right
actually
now.
currently watching Jurassic Park. Will be my third consecutive night just slowly plodding through it. I'm just soaking it in, you know.
Okay. Like you're watching.
I do it like right before I go to bed. So
You're just watching like small segments of it, and then you
right.
stop it, and then watch more.
yeah,
Oh, I'd watch it all the way through 3 days in a row. Just do that.
Yeah.
yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah, it's better.
I'm just trying to absorb all of John Williams, amazing licks and riffs and ideas.
Well, I do that by just I have the soundtrack on my phone. And I just listen
Probably
to
a
it.
better way
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Actually get the
Yeah,
That's
music,
also
but-
good.
Yeah. All right, number 4 is Symphony X, and actually this
Oh,
is
yeah.
my number 1 pick for a progressive metal band. I just think that like Russell Allen is hands down the best metal vocalist, period. And he's so versatile. He did Trans-Siberian Orchestra recently. I mean, that was probably 5 years
Really?
ago now, but
Wow.
I didn't know that.
you haven't seen Russell do Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
I have
No,
not.
I would love to see that.
Unreal.
We'll have
and
to look it up. Yeah.
His ability to like do the growl stuff and like distort his voice, but also the high operatic stuff. He's so well trained. It's unbelievable. And the guy's like, I think maybe early 50s, 53. Usually that's when your voice kind of goes to shit as a guy, but he's just taken such good care of himself. And that's not even to mention Michael Romeo, who's just an amazing composer. Romeo really comes at things from the angle I like to come at things in terms of like influence from 20th century composers and John Williams and Igor Stravinsky and all that kind of thing.
So he occasionally plays a note outside the scale.
Yeah.
Or it might be within a very unique scale that no one's heard of. Yeah, that's another way. Symphony X is one of those bands that I discovered live, and I always think that's impressive because when you see a band live and they're good, then like, okay, there's something there, right? Because
it's Gigantour.
Yeah, it was Gigantour. I think we were all there down in Detroit. Yeah,
who was headlining that?
I think it was Megadeth and Dream Theater like co-headlining, but Megadeth was like the last band of the night.
Megadeth started the Gigantour tour.
Okay.
But then, they brought, tons of people along with them.
But I remember not knowing anything and not having listened to any Symphony X, and let's go check it out. And then I was like, wow, I got to go buy an album.
What was it specifically? Was it Russell Allen's insane stage presence?
It was probably more the guitar for me, just because that's what I was into. Yeah, I mean, his watching someone that's really good at shredding is just a thing to behold.
I'll tell you something about Michael Romeo too. On that note, I mean, the guy, he's so effortless when it comes to doing complicated things. I have massive respect for guys like John Petrucci, but John really has to focus when he plays. And admittedly, what he's playing is very hard. But Michael Romeo does not.
No.
Michael Romeo will
run
looking
around
anywhere
the stage.
but his guitar. He never actually looks at his guitar. It seems like
it's just like butter running.
You can
up
tell
and
it's
down
easy for him. It's easy.
I mean, I can do that too.
Right.
It doesn't sound like Michael Romeo.
I'm like the John Petrucci type. I gotta like really concentrate on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that dude's just.
But I think I saw Symphony X possibly in L.A. with you. Did you see him there
at the Key Club?
Yeah, at the Key, and like we ran into I think it was Michael Romeo, like out the back. Remember?
No, that was the House of Blues.
House of Blues.
We ran into him in the top. We were up at the bar.
We like wandered through some doors.
Romeo was
maybe
just
we weren't
hanging out
to.
with Michael Lapon, the bass player, and we just went up and shot the shit with him. For a while.
That was cool.
I was with
Super
you
cool
guys
guy,
for that show.
Yeah,
but I was downstairs. I didn't go upstairs out on the balcony.
I think you maybe showed up later or something. Like later.
Maybe who was Symphony X headlining that?
Yeah. It was a Symphony X show.
And were you playing that night?
No, this was just
a long time
enjoyment.
Okay,
just enjoying ourselves. Looking for a little extra drink, and we got something a little extra.
Nicely done.
It was a great show. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 3 is Tool. Luke, what do you think about Tool?
Yeah, Tool for me. I mean, hard for me to classify them as metal in the same like.
Well, metal, but
no,
not
I don't know. I'd put them.
Oh wow!
I'd put them more in like a hard rock category, right? Like I'd put them in a similar genre. We were talking about Alice in Chains the other day. I would put Tool and Alice in Chains in the same musical genre. That's
actually maybe a fair point. They were formed in 1990, so they were kind of coming up in that era too. Yeah, and I mean I don't mind listening to them, but the thing with Tool is they're not nearly as experimental or explorative musically as everybody gives them credit for. Yeah. Right? So they're like everybody thinks in pop music, Justin Timberlake's amazing because I don't know. I actually don't know why anybody thinks Justin Timberlake's amazing. But you have like pop, which is all the same, and then somebody's like, "Hey, in pop music, we play the G chord, the A chord, and the D chord. I'm going to play an E chord." And all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh, they're such an amazing guitarist. So innovative. They played an E chord. Nobody in pop plays an E chord."
It was probably an E minor.
It might have even been an E minor.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
E actually would have been more out of the key with the previous chords you mentioned. So that actually would be the more progressive choice. Believe it or not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's a good thing we have Shred here.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Tool is like that for me. Like, or Alice in Chains, very similar. Like they do some stuff that isn't what all of the other people in their category are doing. And so everybody's like, look at how innovative they are. Well, they are compared to, the other band that is on the radio.
Yeah.
But they're not
compared
to this vast world of metal that nobody's ever heard of. They're not even close.
This might be why we're not running into a lot of bands on this list that maybe are top picks. We just found Shred's top pick, Symphony X. I'm glad and a little surprised they're on there. I feel like, they're big, but I don't know. I
really
feel like
cult underground following of Symphony X.
Yeah.
People that know about them are extremely dedicated, but their marketing is just shit. That's all it is.
That's the thing.
Like, whereas Dream Theater's marketing is really good, Symphony X, bad.
On point. Not on point, Symphony X, on point, Dream Theater.
Yeah. So that's
You gotta know how to sell what you do. That is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
It looks like Symphony X peaked at in 2011 with Iconoclast. They reached number 76 on the Billboard 200. So
who's number one on the Billboard 200 for a year like that? I wonder.
We could find out. But if you're selling enough albums to be on Billboard Top 200, one, the people at the top are all cheating. They're just buying their own music to get a higher ranking.
Or giving it away in like a mass giveaway.
So is this because like right now Taylor Swift is number one? It looks like on the Billboard Hot 100,
and she
but
always
Symphony
will
X
be.
was on the same list.
2011
possible
album Iconoclast reached number 76 on the Billboard 200.
Let's see what's number 76.
Was it the Billboard 200 like subcategory or?
I don't know.
It's got to be like a sub list or something.
It looks like it's their only album that ever ranked on the Billboard 200.
Iconoclast. I would actually say their most recent album, which is fucking 2016, put out another album, guys. But it's called Underworld. And that is by far my favorite Symphony X album ever. It's the most mature songwriting, best production quality, and it's just, there's not a single thing in that record that I would cut out. There's no fat on the supermodel. It's just super, super tight and lean.
See, I bought their album. It's like there's like a desert and there's like a wizard.
Oh, that's Five.
Yes, or V, whatever.
Yeah.
That I bought that album as a hope buy. I didn't know who Symphony X was, but I thought the name was cool.
That's
Symphony
how
X.
we found out about him, I guess. Yeah.
Was that how you heard about him too?
Oh yeah. I'm sure
Okay,
it was.
yeah. And they did have a song on there. It was called like Evolution or something.
Evolution, the Grand Design. Yeah.
Evolution's Grand Design. Yeah. That was a really cool song. And it reminded me of like Dream Theater. So I was like, oh, these guys are really cool. And then I don't know why I didn't keep up with them, but I got out of them. And then they came out with the Divine Wings of Tragedy?
Yeah.
Tragedy.
Yeah, Divine Wings of Tragedy.
That was before. That was, I think, 97.
That was
Five
before Five?
was 2001, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it would have been early 2000s when I got Five. And so then years later, I listened to the Divine Wings of Tragedy, and it did not hit me the same way that Five did. It was like not sloppier, but like
less epic, maybe.
Not as good
Five to
production.
me was
Less
like
epic?
really like an epic album.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It had all that great stuff. Just like
Yeah.
soaring melodies
Yeah.
and fast runs that were just so much fun to ride along with. And then Divine Wings of Tragedy, it was just like, I don't know, it was like raw. It was like you know what it reminded me of? Like the Liquid Tension Experiment song, 3 Minute Warning.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
they literally were like, let's just improvise a jam for 23 minutes. And they did. And you're like,
Interesting.
some of the stuff they did was cool, but you could tell they had never rehearsed it. And because it was like somebody would have to start something and then everybody would kind of catch up and, they'd start playing. So it's like
That's weird.
Divine Wings of Tragedy. Maybe they just went into the studio and started recording some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think their workflow is Michael Romeo writes everything, and they probably record everything like themselves too. I know well, I don't know for sure, but I think that's the way they roll. So yeah, they do suffer a little bit from lack of production quality and just lack of people involved in general. They probably don't have a big budget, and it kind of sucks for a band that's so good, in my opinion. Number 2 is Opeth. Opeth is a Swedish progressive death metal band from Stockholm, formed in 1990. Wow, that long ago. But these guys didn't really probably break through until Blackwater Park in 2001.
Yeah, that's certainly where I first heard
that album.
It takes time.
Is great.
Yeah, Pete, you got any thoughts on Blackwater
Well,
Park?
I do.
Do you drink black water? What
so
does that taste like?
Again, I don't. I don't
Probably
know.
not good.
No,
for you, but
probably not. But I actually bought this on vinyl, and I had a sweet setup. I was listening to records, and I loved it. I listened to this front to back over and over again. That's another thing I appreciate about vinyl, and the we hit on it before, but like the idea of an album and listening to an album through.
Yeah.
Blackwater Park, of course, is a great song, but I like the whole album.
Is it thematic at all? Is there any like theme running through the album?
Yeah, maybe some. It's not like a concept album as much, I wouldn't say, but
What is the real unique aspect of Opeth? I wonder what it is, because you got like the growling vocals, but also the clean stuff. But then
I always like that blend of it.
Yeah.
To me, is really interesting.
there's a ton of just chromaticism in Opeth's music, a lot of modal stuff.
I like it when it albums too. Like there's a lot of, like light, like clean elements to it that are crisp, and then like the really heavy too. To me, I'm less into bands that are just like heavy all the way through.
Yeah.
Right.
Dynamic range.
Yeah, the dynamic range is big, and I think like the song Blackwater Park does that really well too.
Yeah.
You know how it kind of starts light, and there's a lot of journey in that song.
Sometimes this is actually have a similar complaint as I mentioned with Mastodon. Sometimes Opeth, in my opinion, doesn't, because composition is defined as repetition and development, and sometimes Opeth will mention a musical idea and then just move on from it without developing it, and then you never really hear it again. I'm like, wait a minute, but that was really cool back there. You should have like done more with that.
You want to know the album that does that more than any other album in the world? It's both the most beautiful and most frustrating thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
What's that?
For Love and of Art and the Making.
Oh,
by Beyond Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
Every single movement, which they're usually like 20 to 45 seconds long.
It's funny.
Every single one is like, stop. I need more than 20. I need 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
Give me 20 seconds.
Stop.
There's like 10 albums worth of music.
Yes.
To be
Musical
fair,
ideas
I think that's
there.
kind of what Finn Zeeler was going for.
It
now,
was.
he's very influenced by 20th century music. In fact, in For Love of the Art of the Making, none of you guys listening have probably ever heard of Beyond Twilight. But go check him out.
Yeah.
But
Instantly,
he
instantly. Stop listening to the podcast and go buy it.
Yeah.
Right after the podcast.
He actually
Right
arranges a section of The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky.
For
in
Love of Art and Making?
For Love of Art and the Making.
Ah.
And so he's making a direct reference there. And that's why, that's what I want to make the genre 20th century metal. And Finn Zeeler totally fits in that category. With Beyond Twilight.
He's another guy that'd be great to hear something from again.
Yeah.
Stop.
Terrible
full
marketing.
stop
Yeah,
on that one. Yeah.
What
Well,
that's why no one's heard of him. It's like
he put out
I mean, Section X is great too. Like he made some albums, but then it's like,
Well, and his singers, dude,
they're
Kelly
beyond-
Sundown Carpenter.
Oh my gosh.
Bjorn Land.
Yep.
Those guys, they're right up there with Russell Allen. I mean,
Oh yeah.
but what are these guys doing? Is
well,
my
they
question.
all have like side projects and
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yeah, but why aren't they a thing?
Well,
That's
it's
the
'cause-
problem
because
here.
That is the whole point of this show.
Bad marketing. I would, Finn, if you're listening, I would gladly take over your social media. Well, at least give you advice on it.
It's a lot of work.
But it is
Finn,
a lot of
I
work.
will do anything for you. In fact, you disappeared for a couple of years, and
Would you perform sexual favors though for Finn, if he requested?
I'd have to hear.
Katie, would you allow that to happen?
I'd have to hear the music he was going to release
Wife
before I
says
did
it's
it.
okay.
But so he disappeared for a few years. Like he went off the radar. Nobody knew where he was. Whatever. We actually started to put together a team to create a documentary called Finding Finn.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, and we were going to go over there and try to find him, and because he does crazy stuff,
and
like
beg him for more music.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll like dive down into a pond in the middle of a forest in the middle of the night to try to get inspiration for music.
Well, I think he like put a keyboard down at the bottom of a lake, and they went down and played notes.
Did he? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just unbelievable stuff. And I'll tell you what, it worked. It works because there's nothing like we kind of. He's in his own genre. I mean,
Yeah.
we termed it dark metal magic or dark magic metal.
Yeah.
Dark magic metal. That's
Yeah.
I just think of dark magic when I'm listening to his
Well,
metal.
dark magic, I mean, that's like one of the movements, right? Isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Past the magic.
Past
the
the
magic.
Yeah. And then there's past the magic reprise. Anyway, we got off on Finn.
The main point here is, guys, if you're listening and you want to make a band work, you really need to focus on the marketing aspects of things in your social media. Because even if you have incredible music like Beyond Twilight, no one's going to hear it unless you have good marketing.
That's true. Although, let me just say this: don't dumb the music down to fit the marketing. Like,
No,
figure out
that's a whole separate thing there. Yeah,
right. I'm just saying because in an upcoming episode, we're going to perform a little experiment. We're going to write a pop song on the podcast
Oh, yeah.
just to prove how stupidly easy and dumb pop music is. We're going to write a pop song on this podcast, and I'm going to say within 6 months, it'll be number one on Billboard's 200.
man, that's a bold claim.
6 months of us releasing it.
Yeah.
It's an experiment. We'll see what happens.
Experiment.
Who's going to produce that song, bro?
You've got Logic.
That's,
I got
that's
a
gonna be
mixer
tough.
board.
Well,
We're set.
And we got enough inputs.
got-
We got 5 inputs here. Shoot.
got-
That's
I
enough
think
to record a
if we-
pop
if we-
song.
if we each
It's true. It's true.
if we drink enough black water, it just might happen.
All
Yeah,
right. Who's next on our list?
So this leads us to really good marketing. This is a band that really nailed their marketing, in my opinion. And the other thing about this band is they just were so consistent in their touring schedule and in their every 2 years we release an album.
This is number one.
And this is number one, which is, of course, I don't think anybody is not going to know this. It's Dream Theater, of course.
seat.
American progressive
Yeah.
metal band from Boston, Massachusetts. Actually, that's incorrect. They're from New York, really.
Well, they
Long Island.
formed.
John Petrucci and John Myung grew up in New York. Rudis is also from New York. James Labrie is from Canada. Mike Portnoy is also from New York. So the Boston thing, that's where they
Yeah.
went to school.
That's where they formed, but that's not where they're from.
Yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't call them a Boston band, but yeah, originally formed in 1985 under the name Majesty. The Majesty symbol they came up with was cool too, and then they changed it to Dream Theater. But Luke, what's your opinion on Dream Theater, and what's your number one?
Well, Dream Theater would be my number one. Symphony X was yours. Dream Theater, my number one. I have a love and a slightly less love relationship with Dream Theater. First of all, in terms of
So no sexual favors.
probably no sexual favors for those guys.
That's harsh.
Cold. 20 years ago, maybe.
Cold-blooded.
But maybe not today. No, but see, the thing with Dream Theater is, in terms of personal influence, Dream Theater is number one, and there isn't really a number two. Like, I grew up listening to 80s metal, and there was something there was something missing from 80s metal. I always wanted more and more and more and more. And then I was a member of Columbia House back in the day. And I was just flipping through Columbia House. I was like,
"Do people know what Columbia? Nobody knows. Gen Zers don't know what Columbia House is."
yeah, no, it was just
Explain
like
that.
it was a catalog that you would get. It was a music club, a membership club, and you would get a catalog like every 6 months, and they would just have a listing of every CD that they sold, and then you'd pick out CDs.
Kind of
and-
like
They were
looking
like
through your
pictures.
porno mag.
yeah, there
There
were
were
pictures of the album
though,
covers.
so you could see the album cover.
Yeah.
That was
it
very important.
It was,
Yes.
in fact.
It was prog porn.
I'm flipping through here, and at the time, I was really big into Guns N' Roses and Warrant and that kind of stuff, and I see this album cover by this band called Dream Theater. It was the Awake album, and it's the surface of the moon, and there's like clocks and all this like really, really interesting
Awake.
mythological type stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna buy this album just because the album cover is so cool. The artwork is so cool. So I bought it, and I remember I was laying on our living room floor when it came, and I put it in, and I was like, all right, let's. It was a hope buy. I'd never heard of this.
Why did you sprawl out spread eagle on the floor? Is that how you listen to all your records?
I'm not 100% sure, but this had such an impact on me. I remember exactly right upstairs, right here, actually.
Were you wearing pants?
I was probably wearing shorts. I didn't own any pants.
Yeah,
back then.
yeah. And that's
only wore
another.
shorts.
I think you should follow
Commando
up with
or
wearing
underwear?
shorts
No, I never.
to
So
a Dream Theater, but finish your
when I was a kid, my brothers brought a whole bunch of friends in, including girls, and I was sleeping in my whitey tighties, and they pulled the covers off of me, and I pretended I was asleep while they all laughed at me. From that day forward, I was like, no more underwear. So I don't know. That doesn't really make sense. Like, why would I not wear underwear because of that?
Because
But there was something about.
you're saying they wouldn't have laughed if they had seen what was under the underwear.
That's right.
So that's
Seen
the,
that.
They'd have just been. They'd have walked away in shame.
yeah, they would have been like,
Man, I wish that was me.
damn.
Joke's on you.
Yeah. So then I was like, got to get rid of this underwear so everybody can see my business.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that
I was
python.
probably wearing shorts, and I was probably not wearing underwear. And Dream Theater starts 6:00 starts. And first of all, it starts with
6
a
o'clock
synthesizer.
on a Christmas morning. Yeah.
That's right.
I used to think about that song every Christmas at 6 o'clock a.m.
Yeah, well, that all comes from the Berliners, from James Joyce. But anyway, so it starts with a synthesizer, and I'm like, well, that's weird. You don't hear a lot of like synth-driven stuff. Then the guitar comes in, and you're like, oh, good. This is like metal. I like metal. And thus began the most absurd cognitive dissonance for me for about the next 45 minutes, because I couldn't figure out what instruments were playing. Because I'm like, you can't do what they're doing on a guitar. That can't be a guitar.
No.
Nobody can do that. And then like the drumming, like drums were always meant to keep a beat, right? Bass, snare, and then you're holding your 4/4 time with your hi-hat.
Yeah.
And Mike Portnoy's doing stuff that I'm like, drums don't go off like that. No. I mean, the dude's like drum soloing while holding a beat for entire song. And then the music starts changing constantly. And I'm like, is it a new song starting every minute and a half? What is going on? I could not comprehend what was happening. No. And so I listened to that album probably like 4 or 5 times back to back, trying just like completely enamored with what was going on.
You instantly liked it.
Instantly fell in love. I was like, this is what I've been looking for all my life. And I was like 12, but whatever.
You're like, the world is changing.
The world changed on that day.
Yeah.
Like in Final Fantasy VI when Kefka moves the statues. And it's
like
on
Lord
that
of the
day,
Rings.
the world changed forever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So Dream Theater for me began my journey through like real metal and also progressive metal.
And life.
Yeah, I mean, literally no music was that influential in my... And music is so influential to me. Dream Theater was like, it just kept me going day after day for years and years and years. Now, that being said, when their album Train of Thought came out...
2004 or so.
Yeah. So Train of Thought, they're like, we're going to go for a dirtier, rawer, more like Metallica sound.
Ooh.
And to me, it was like they took a step back in their songwriting. Remember, this is coming off of Scenes from a Memory, right? Scenes from a Memory, this gigantic, epic concept album. And then Train of Thought comes out, and I'm like, wait, what are they doing? This is like, it's all just like riffs that I've heard from other bands. Not exactly, but too similar to that. So ever since Train of Thought, I feel like some of the magic of Dream Theater, when they were
Majesty.
Some of the majesty, perhaps, is gone. So, but they're still unbelievable. I've seen these guys in concert, I don't know, 8-10 times. They're one of the only bands I'll actually still go see in concert because they're worth it, along with Ariane.
Yeah.
And so they're just the level of musicianship, how sharp they're, how in sync they're. You listen to a song like Dance of Eternity live, and they're all like just nailing it.
Yeah.
Impossible. That's not possible. And yet they do it.
Yeah, it's really hard to continually evolve your music and keep pushing your art form forward. And a lot of times what people do at a certain point is go back to their roots and their influences. And that's what happened on Train of Thought. And yeah, it's not necessarily what everybody's looking for. There's probably a lot of people that... Actually, I wonder how well each album sold by Dream Theater. We could compare.
Yeah.
Because that's still really...
Well,
Napster was... When was Napster? Like 2000-ish, 99?
Late 90s.
So that could
early
totally
2000s.
affect the album sales, though. You may not get an objective reading there, but
You'll have a pretty good idea.
but
Yeah,
okay.
1999 was Napster.
1999, okay. But that's it. That's the list.
But
Oh, hey,
also, like, Napster, I remember, like, I always felt like about these progressive bands that, like, I wanted to buy the album. Right? Like, if you're into it, like, you want to support it, right? It's the idea, like, Patreon works now, right? Because people, like, don't... I mean, yeah, they get some stuff for it,
don't
but
get me started on this
it's,
topic. Oh.
But it's also, like, if you care about the person, you want to buy it. I always took pride in actually buying the album.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I'm like, more people should buy this.
We could do a whole episode on how the music business has changed since 2000.
Let me give my number one, because we're at the end here.
Yep, we're at the end.
Or close to the end. And so he didn't come up on the list. Surprise, surprise.
I think he comes up on any list just because maybe people don't think about him as a band.
Yeah, Devin Townsend. But, yeah, I guess maybe because they don't think of him as a band. But I don't know. And by far and away, like, Terria, I mean, that got me into Devin.
Yep.
I listened to that over and over and over again. I mean, Ocean Machine I listened to a lot as well. You talk about somebody that doesn't go stale, doesn't go back to his roots and produce the same album over and over again. I mean, Devin, just like wide variety. And I love that. You never know what the next project's going to be like.
Yeah, he's a super brilliant guy, too. He's got that synesthesia thing where he associates colors with sounds.
Yeah.
And he's just a super brilliant dude. Worked with Steve Vai, of course, in the early 90s as a singer. Used to shit in Steve Vai's guitar case as a joke.
He was
I don't
also
think
quite
Steve
the
would
joke.
appreciate that, but yeah.
Guys, well, so literally we'll have to have an entire podcast on Devin Townsend because
Right. I'm just throwing him out because he's my top progressive metal pick.
Yeah.
Maybe let us know who you think we should go deep on.
Yeah,
Like
and
a spotlight artist.
you can send us messages on Instagram. We watch that, Great Metal Podcast. You can also email to greatmetalpodcast@gmail.com. Would love to take user questions, comments. This is a forum for us to kind of engage with you guys. So please send us some messages.
Also send nudes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Shredmaster's looking for those.
yeah. I mean, isn't everybody? Hey, well, how long have we been on?
50 minutes.
Okay.
yeah,
we're gonna have to wrap it up. So I had a little surprise set up,
Yeah.
but it's gonna take another 10-15 minutes. So we'll do this. We'll do the surprise. So a couple of things.
We'll start the next episode with the surprise.
Okay, but the surprise is best if it's right in the middle of somebody's sentence.
Okay.
And then it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes to get through. Anyway, some cool stuff coming up. Keep tuning in. Like I said, we're going to do an experiment. We're
Luke,
gonna
you're
write the
scaring me
next-
with this surprise. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
We're going to write the next pop song, and it's going to
I
go
can't wait for that.
viral. Yeah, it's going to be huge. And then when we go up to accept our Grammy, we're going to like piss on it and then throw it back into the crowd and be like, ha ha ha, we totally pranked you guys.
We have
No
you.
selling out.
Yeah.
And also, there's going to be this really super cool surprise to my podcast members here. And so a lot of really cool stuff coming up. So
Stay tuned.
thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Rock and roll.
And we'll do it again soon.
Shred till you're dead.